Hey chili heads, thank you so much for joining with me here today for another of our ultimate pepper growing guide here on the Urban Gardener channel. We've got a lot we've been growing on so far this year, so many great videos so far and plenty more to come. But today we're going to talk about our 5-gallon water wicking buckets. These buckets are a big part of our content here on the channel, some of our biggest videos, and probably one of our best resources in our small space garden. I want to talk all about them with you and show you how to put them together in today's video. Let's get growing. So all right, everybody, welcome to another of our ultimate pepper growing guide videos here on the Urban Gardener channel. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this season. We've got lots growing on as we've been showing so far. Our pepper plants are ready to start planting out in all of our garden spaces. And like I said, we're gonna talk about our water wicking earth buckets today. Before we get digging into all of that, I want to get with our trivia question from our last video. I asked you, what are the 5 domesticated species of capsicum peppers? What are the 5 domesticated species of peppers? And the 5 are Capsicum annuum, Capsicum chinense, Capsicum frutescens, Capsicum baccatum, and Capsicum pubescens. I think I've got those, said them correctly anyways. But those are the 5 domesticated species of peppers. So if you're eating peppers out there, they're more than likely one of those 5 species of peppers. Now, since we are going to be planting out our pepper plants out into all of our garden spaces, out into full sun, this video's question is, how much sunlight do pepper plants need for optimal fruit and plant production? How much sunlight do they need? Let me know, write down in the comments section below, and let me know what your guess is, and I'll let you all know here on the next video in our video series. Today we are here to talk about our 5-gallon water wicking buckets, or earth buckets as they've been called, and I've also heard people call them self-watering buckets, but they don't really self-water. You got to put it in yourself. So I guess that's what they mean by self-watering. But ultimately, these buckets are great. I've been using them for many, many years. In fact, I've done many, many videos, as I've said before, on these buckets. So if you want to, I've got an iCard to probably the earliest one up above, and I'll put links down to some of the other ones as well in the video description. As I said, these are really, really amazing. I found them years ago from my good friend Kangstar over at the Kangstar channel and the Pepper Lovers community. After I started using them in that first season, I have been building more and more of them, and they've become really the main growing container in most all of our spaces here, because the value in these containers is just really amazing. Plus the time ultimately. Here's the big thing. I live in a warm region. My containers can dry out by midday on some of our hottest days. And these water wicking containers utilize capillary action in order to bring up and wick water up from the bottom reservoir up into our growing container, which then keeps that soil nice and moist and all of that good soil biology nice and alive inside of these containers through some of the hottest days that we have during the summer. So I don't have to be on top of them all the time to make sure that my plants and my containers aren't drying out. So just in that benefit alone, these containers are awesome. Let alone the fact that they're just really, really inexpensive too. When it comes down to it, you only need a few parts, a couple of drill bits, a hole saw, that sort of thing in order to put them together. And you can obtain these buckets for nearly nothing. In fact, a lot of places just give them away for free. Some will charge you a small charge or fee, I've seen in some places, but you can go to local businesses like sandwich shops, bakeries, your local grocery stores and their bakeries, restaurants, and these sort of businesses are using food grade 5-gallon buckets, and then they're basically tossing them out. So go find some of those businesses, see if you can obtain some of these 5-gallon buckets, and then there you are. You're on your way to building and setting yourself up with some of these just really amazing containers. Plus, these containers are really simple to put together, so easy. Like I said, you just need those 2 5-gallon buckets. They don't even have to be round. These ones are square here. You just need 2 buckets that can fit inside of each other here. You need a little PVC pipe. We've got a 3-inch net pot. And then after that, all you really need are the little drill bits. We've got a 1/4-inch drill bit for all of our little holes, a 3-inch hole saw bit for our 3-inch hole for the net pot, and then a 1-inch bit for our PVC tube there. And then that's pretty much it. Just a little bit of drilling and a little bit of assembling, and then we've got ourselves a really amazing container. So all right, let's assemble and make one of our 5-gallon buckets here. First, like I said, you got a 3-inch hole saw here. And we're just going to place that right down the middle of the bucket. Once we've got the 3-inch hole in place there, then, like I said, we're gonna need a 1-inch, which I've got attached to another drill here, a 1-inch. And all we got to do is find a spot right along the outer edge of our bucket here. And I'll just go right here. There we go. Now we've got a 1-inch hole and a 3-inch hole. And after that, I just want to put in a bunch of just little 1/4-inch holes around the bottom here so the roots can find their way down and into the water if they want to. Now, no rhyme or reason in where they're placed at all. Just make sure you got plenty of them in there again to let those roots come down and through. And once we've got those holes drilled into basically what is our inside growing bucket, basically, what we're going to do now is the second bucket, which is the bottom bucket, is our reservoir bucket. This is the one that's going to hold all of the water. And what we're going to need to do here is so that we don't have overflow or oversaturation, we're going to have to put in some overflow holes into the bottom bucket. It's really the only thing we're going to need to do with this bottom bucket. And now most buckets usually sit just about 3 or so inches from the top here. And as I can see the bottom of the bucket right in there, I'll just want to make a couple of holes right here just below that bottom bucket here, or the top bucket. Just below there. And another one right about there. So all right, we've got all of our holes put into our bucket through the bottom of our inside planting bucket and on the outside of our reservoir bucket there. So all we got to do now is put in our PVC pipe. Now this PVC pipe is what allows us to feed the water in through the top bucket into our bottom bucket water reservoir. Important point here though too is to make sure that you cut or saw an angle at the bottom of your pipe there, and that your pipe is tall enough to come up over the top of the bucket. Just an inch or two is just plenty when it comes down to that. So we're gonna insert that into our bucket, and then I'm gonna line up our pipe nice and straight. And then this is where I'm gonna put in just a couple of more holes on each side of our pipe here, so that we can just basically zip tie that in real quick. And we'll cut that off here in a moment. We've got these all set. And then we just need our little net pot right down in the bottom. And there we are. Just that easy. Nice and simple assembly. And now let's go plant one of our peppers into this container. So all right, we've got our number 19, our Testarossa. One of my favorite plants this year, definitely. Look how dark and beautiful those leaves are continuing to grow. But yeah, we'll make this our first plant that we're going to plant out into our containers for our outdoor garden. So let's show you how we plant out our 5-gallon water wicking buckets. So all right, first thing we're gonna do with our water wicking buckets is we gotta take out our net pot. This little 3-inch net pot is what's really helping us do the work when it comes to the capillary action. And if you think of like your house plants or your other types of plants that you're feeding from the bottom, and they've got kind of a water tray that the bottom of the container kind of sits in, that's pretty much the idea of what this net pot is doing. It's sitting down below the bucket surface into our reservoir to sit and saturate in the water, so that this water then is pulled up into the rest of the pot. The root system will utilize capillary action again in order to bring that water from the reservoir right up into our root system. So first thing we got to do is we got to really pack out our little net pot here. We want to make sure that we're getting it nice and tight and packed out. And then I also make sure that I pack it in a nice dome kind of on the top there as well. I'm going to set that right into the bottom of the bucket there. And now I'm going to take a couple of scoops of our soil here. And also note on our soil, I've already told you and talked to you guys about our seed starting mix and our transplanting mix. And I also got this clip real quick here on our transplant mix for outdoors for our containers. So all right, at the time of editing, I looked for my file for the clip I made about our container, our outdoor container soil mix, and I don't know where it went. So here I am, I'm out here. I've kind of hopefully be able to explain it. The only thing that's really missing here is our big pile of compost that we had. A lot of this was mixed with a lot of our compost. We brought in some great local compost that we used for a lot of our beds around the garden this year, but we also make a great mix for all of our containers too. And again, like most everything else that we're doing here throughout this series as well too, a lot of it's just very simple. You can do a lot of this yourself. You can mix and match things if you want to. You can pump it up with more stuff if you would like to as well. But basically this is just pretty simple. We've got basically some compost, not this bag stuff I've got here anyways, but compost that we've mixed up with a bit of cocoa coir. And now again, I didn't have the stuff I've already soaked before from the other clip, but cocoa coir usually comes in these big old bricks like this, and you soak them up in some water, and this brick will turn into a whole bunch of cocoa coir. And you can find some local garden centers and places as well that have them. I found these just really big, huge ones at my garden center. But if you can find them locally, best way to get them other than ordering them if you want to save some extra money. So call around to some places and see if you can find those. You got peat moss. Again, I mentioned this in the other video as well too. I have a friend who gives me some stuff here and there, and they've given me some peat moss this year. And if I'm getting peat moss from a friend, or someone is just giving it away or that sort of thing, or even if it's just a total clearance sale and it's just really too cheap to pass up or whatever, I'll add some of that to my mixes. But for the most part, I generally don't go into utilizing peat moss. It's just not a regenerative resource that we can use for our gardens, so I try to avoid it. But again, if it's free or nearly free or that sort of thing, I'm not going to hesitate to use it. If you have that, or that's all that's available to you as well too, it's just fine, and it's going to work really well to just kind of loosen up and really help our soil retain a lot of moisture, especially in the containers in our hot weather we have here. We want to have plenty of that. This cocoa coir works excellent at doing that as well. And we also mix in perlite. Vermiculite and all of that we utilize in our seedling mixes, but for these container mixes and everything, we're going to be utilizing perlite. And another thing too, one of the things you want is you're going to want a mask. Be wearing a mask, and this isn't just for the perlite. You don't want any of this rock and this rock dust or anything to get into your lungs. You don't want any sort of dust or even some of these microbes and all of these other things that are in our soil biology and all of that. These sort of things that are going to dust up and get into the air as we're mixing and turning soil. So definitely be wearing a nice good mask. KN95 works really great. So be doing that when you're mixing up your soil mixes. Once I get it all mixed up and we get a good amount of it, and again too, put in whatever ratios you like in here to get the type of mix that you like. Again, totally do it yourself, how you like it to be. Just mix some things up there. Make sure you've got good drainage. Make sure the soil is able to hold some good moisture in as well too. And once we've got it all mixed up, I will, when I'm planting out the plants, I will utilize a dry organic fertilizer, just a general dry organic fertilizer you can find at most of your garden centers. I'll mix that into the pots, the new ones. We'll definitely mix that in with the starts that we're going to be planting out in our new pots. But for some of our existing pots already, I'll mix up a bucket of that, and I'll put in about 2 cups of some dry organic fertilizer into a nice 5-gallon buckets worth of soil mix that all together, and then I'll use that to top off all of our other buckets that are around the gardens already too, or even some of our elevated raised beds we have here too. So again, really great, really easy. Mix up some soil of your own, and now we can avoid some of this bag stuff. Again, I always appreciate it when I got friends who bring over really awesome bagged compost and, you know, like I said, the peat moss and all of that too. It's always great, always appreciated. But mixing up our own soils, especially for as many containers as we have, is really the best way to go. So now we take that soil and I just kind of loosely pack it in a little bit there, and especially right around that little dome that we did. We want to make sure that all of our soil down here in the bottom's kind of connecting with it. So kind of loosely I push it in there, and then again we just fill this bucket up with our soil here. Again, loosely pack that in there too. You know what I mean? Not heavy. Don't really cram it in there, but make sure you're kind of pushing it in. Again, we do want to make sure that this pot is somewhat solid for our roots to grow into. And then there we go, just nice and easy like that. And then of course, simple transplanting. We're gonna dig out a hole about the size of our container here out of the center, right? Take our little tag and put that in right next to our pipe there, so we know our plant through its number and our tracking system we've been using. There we go. There, we got a little tight root system there, so these guys are definitely ready to be transplanted. Want to kind of loosen this up a little bit. Loosen that up, get those in there. Loosen up kind of the soil around the top. bring the soil around the base, just like so. Just kind of, like I said, loosely pack that in there. And there we go. I mean, this is just that simple. I'm telling you, this stuff is so simple, so easy. Can't wait to see where this plant grows here in the next few weeks. But yeah, there we go. And of course, we want to water in our start with our compost tea. So all right, after we've watered in our start with our compost tea, making sure that all of our soil is nice and wet and moist, then what we're going to do now is we're going to fill up that reservoir bucket, this outer bucket, bottom bucket here. We're going to fill the water up. And what we're going to do with that is we're just going to take this funnel here. I got this at the dollar store, just a nice simple funnel. It's got the perfect little bottom there to fit into our PVC pipe. And all we do now is we just take our hose and we fill that up until the water starts coming out of our overflow holes here, and then we know that our bottom bucket is nice and full. And another thing also to think about here for these buckets is that we're primarily using these for, like I said, a warmer time of season. That's really when we're going to need that capillary action the most to help us make sure that we're keeping our soil nice and wet and moist so that we can have awesome root zones for nice strong plants. But ultimately we're not going to be filling this up as much during the cooler times of the season, and in fact sometimes what we're going to have to do is flush this. And so what we'll do is we'll just push water through here and flush it out every week or so in the cooler times of the season, or whenever we're out watering and that sort of thing. And even during the coldest and winter time or anything, I'm not really watering these at all. At that point in time, rain is coming around and they're just pretty much keeping things going at that point. And like I said, we're just flushing these out at then. And that's just how we keep the water circulated and keep everything really nice for our plants throughout the year. So all right, everybody, there we go. We've got our first pepper planted out, our Testarossa variety, into our water wicking buckets here. And I hope that you guys really enjoyed this video and get a chance to put together one of your own water wicking earth buckets and grow out some of your own plants in them as well too. You can grow more than just peppers as well. I want to make sure you know that. We grow all sorts of stuff in them, from tomatoes to cucumbers to, I've grown carrots in them. I've grown broccoli in them and Brussels sprouts. And there's all sorts of just really awesome plants that you can use these containers for in your gardens. Not just peppers, but that's what we're here for. We're talking about all of our peppers. And the rest of our plants too are all ready to get planted out into our garden spaces. So that's what we'll do on our next upcoming video here in the Ultimate Pepper Growing Guide. And also remember, everybody, get down in the comment section below and let me know if you know how much sunlight is optimal for growing out your peppers and getting them to get optimal fruit production and all of that. Jump down in the comment section below. Let me know if you got an answer to that question as well. We'll get that on our very next video too. And again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for following along with our videos. If you can, before we leave, click that thumbs up, hit the like button, drop down in the comment section below. Like I said, share with all of your friends. Let them know about the Urban Gardener channel, the Ultimate Pepper Growing Guide, and our Let's Get Growing show on the weekends, Saturday and Sundays. We've got lots and lots of great conversations with some of the most amazing gardeners in the gardening community. You won't want to miss that show, so definitely come and check that out. I'll see all of you on our next video.